Well, hi everyone. I am Sarah B in WV, and we are here tonight, Monday, with Mountain Mamas, and we have candidates from throughout the state who are running for the state legislature here in West Virginia. And tonight we're going to be talking about education. So this is something obviously that's important to all of us here in the state. So if you have questions, be sure and ask them on your Facebook page right there, right under the live stream. And now I'm going to ask everyone to introduce themselves, starting with Ariana.
Hey, so my name's Ariana Islam. I'm going to run for the House of Delegates in District 50, which is Marion County.
Robin?
Hello, my name is Robin Cutliff. I'm running for House of Delegates in District 44. That is all of Webster County, a little bit of Nicholas County, a little bit of Upshur County, and a piece of Randolph County. I am a public school teacher at Webster County High School. So education is definitely the topic of choice.
Wonderful. Stephanie, you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Tamana, and I am also running for House of Delegates in Marion County, District 50, and I'm also a public school teacher, so education is a top priority.
Wonderful. Brittany?
Hi, I'm Brittany Barlett. I'm also a high school English teacher. I am running for House of Delegates in the 46th District, which is Lewis County and a little piece of Upshur County.
And Brittany, you've got a little bit of feedback on yours.
Mine's muted now, so I don't think it's me.
Okay, if you have your Facebook open, close it. Or turn it down on the volume on your phone. I think it was Patty. Nope. Patty, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
It might be because I was having trouble getting in on my PC, so I tried my phone, and so I think I'm here.
Okay, well, great. Well, Patty, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick. And then just to let everyone know that's watching, thank you all for joining in. And if you're watching the replay, if you still have questions, do let us know. We'll be bringing Mountain Mama candidates in throughout the live stream. So if your candidate isn't here right now, they may be coming in a little bit later time. So Patty, go ahead and introduce yourself and take it from there on ballots.
Sure. I'm Patty Hamilton. I'm running in the 35th District, which is Kanawha County, for the House of Delegates. And I have some updated information on the ballots. For 20 years, I represented counties, and so worked with all the county officials, including county clerks. So election law is sort of near and dear to me. But this is updated as of the end of business yesterday. This kind of amazes me, 167,420 requests for the absentee ballot have been received. Of those that have been received, 147,047 have been sent out, and 27,650 have already been returned. Now, I didn't do the math to see what percentage that is, but that is essentially in 1 week, because they were mailed last Friday, April 24th. So most people got them Saturday, Monday, or Tuesday. So that's essentially 1 week. That's pretty good. That I talked with the Secretary of State's office. They said that the county clerks are getting caught up. They were inundated. And there's about a 2-day turnaround from receipt of the application to getting the ballot in the mail. But that should calm down as people, as they get used to it. They're not used to this volume of absentee ballots by any means. Normally 2 to 3% of the state votes by absentee. They're expecting anywhere from 30 to 50% to vote. And that's just a guess. I mean, nobody knows. It could be way more than that. Yeah. So that's where we are now. The turnaround time by statute is supposed to be 24 hours, but they've been given a little bit of a grace period because they just can't keep up. And I did want to remind folks to be reminding the people that you're talking with about the voter registration, May 19th. So there's still several days to register to vote or change your registration. And a lot of the counties A lot of the county clerks did not make it to the schools. They made it to all of them in some counties. They made it to none of them in some counties, and they made it to some of them in some counties. That's where they catch those 17-year-olds who are going to be 18 by the general election. So that might be something in everyone's respective papers or social media to get that word out there, that 17-year-olds who will be 18 by November 3rd can register to vote and vote in the primary, and they have until May 19th. So that would be a public service, I think, to get that word out there. Also, anybody who's getting an independent, no party ballot and would rather have a party ballot, Democrat or Republican, can request it on their application. But if they are registered Mountain or Libertarian, they cannot request a Democrat or Republican ballot, and they really, in most counties, have no one to vote for, except the nonpartisan. So that's another word you can get out. You can change your registration May 18th and change it back May 20th, and be able to vote in the primary. So that's the update that I have. Unless anybody has any questions.
Definitely, if those of you that are watching, and we do have several live people watching us live, so thank you for joining us. If you do have questions about absentee ballots, Patty's going to be standing by for a little bit, and you can certainly ask those questions. I'm going to now take Patty out and bring her sister in. And so, because she just got back, Patty, thank you again for that update. We'll bring you back here shortly if we have any questions. And let's get DL in here, because DL wants to, we did all the introductions, DL. I know you had some technical difficulties, but I thought maybe you would want to talk about the new website.
Absolutely. But first, let me just say, May the 4th be with you. And I've been waiting all day to say that. I thought, and I lost my internet, my Frontier internet, about 60 seconds before we went on. But right now I'm being very grateful for my phone's hotspot. First I wanted to show you my medicine wheel earrings that I decided to wear tonight, because as I was deciding my ear jewelry, I thought Mountain Mamas are good medicine. I mean, I truly believe that electing Mountain Mamas can just fix and cure all kinds of things that are ailing West Virginia. So that's why I have on my medicine wheel earrings. And I also want, people ask a lot about what is Mountain Mama, and we have a new website I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I was doing a boost to kind of launch the website and let other people know about it, have it come up in their feed. And as I am picking categories for that boost, I'm picking things like social justice, environmental protection, women's LGBTQ, labor, human, civil rights. I had written some more down here, but you get the idea. But those tend to be people who are politically engaged in some area. And I got to thinking, I really need to get a boost that, gets to parents and workers in different industries, and those that, have too much going on in their everyday life with kids and job and whatever, to maybe be involved in organizations or in some cause or something like that. Because I really do believe that if they know about Mountain Mamas, they will support Mountain Mamas and realize that they really are good medicine. So about our website, first I want to give a big thank you to Angelica Armstrong, because as we negotiated this website, she was not going to do individual pages for each of the Mountain Mamas. But for some reason, she decided to go for it, and we still have some updates and tweaks to do to the website, but it is now up. It is mountainmtnmamawv.org. So it's mountainmamawv.org with mountain abbreviated. And we hope you will go there and have a look. And we especially hope you will hit the donate button, because I have incurred or obligated Mountain Mamas for several things that I could sure use an input of funds, and just wanted to show you some of our bonuses that if you give $100, I've got some swag. I call myself the swag hag. One is a Mountain Mama patch made by Loving West Virginia, and they also make the Mountain Mama lapel button that we gave away last year, and I still have some of those, and some handmade Mountain Mama wooden key rings that Crystal Good provided for me. So you get swag for $100, and if you give $200, you can order a t-shirt on Mountain Mama's dime. So again, the website is mtnmountainmamawv.org, and we hope you'll visit it. We'll help you share it to your page and to other appropriate pages and groups on Facebook. And let me put my glasses on and see if I am done. So I am going to go backstage again. I wish there was a green room with snacks, Sarah. I'll be back at the end. Bye, everybody. Good to see you.
I'll work on that. We're going to bring Patty back real quick because we have some questions, Patty, about, let's see here. All right, Patty, if you received your absentee ballot already but want a different ballot, can you get a new one, and how, for non-party voters?
My recommendation would be to call your county clerk. I think that you can, and again, this is non-party, and let's say you got a nonpartisan and realized you wanted to get a Democrat or Republican ballot. I think that you can, but I would want you to check with your county clerk for sure. You probably have to return the ballot you received, and they do what's called spoiling the ballot, so it can't be voted. So the county clerk would be the best source of information for that.
And just so people know, if you don't get a Republican or a Democratic ballot, you can only vote on like the judiciary, correct?
Right.
So,
I mean, it's an important election, but that's all you're going to get are the judicial candidates, the Supreme Court justices, circuit judges, magistrates, and if your county has a school board election or a levy, something like that, you'll get that, but that's it.
Okay. So, all right. Well, and we're going to be posting some more stats that Patty provided to us earlier. And again, if you have questions, just let us know. We'll be happy to answer them as we move forward. And now we're going to move on, and I'm going to bring Patty. I'm going to put you in the green room without snacks. And let's see. We're going to bring Brittany back on. Now, we also have Zachary. Hi, Zachary. Thank you so much for commenting. Zachary, we are going to definitely let you hear from Stephanie and Ariana, and he's in District 50, I do believe. So without further ado, I want to just move on to Delegate Zukoff. You're here, right?
I am. It's
okay.
Zukoff.
Zukoff.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. No worries.
Well, tonight we're talking about education. And as I said earlier, this is obviously something that is very important to all of us. And as a, incumbent, a sitting delegate, maybe you can kind of tell us what happened in the last session, what we're looking for, some updates. Obviously, with the COVID-19, things are kind of put in a little bit of chaos on top of chaos that we already had. Yeah. So tell us where we are and where we need to go.
Well, we had, year before last, we had the strike, 2 years in a row. So it was some difficult times for education, but this last session, we had some, it was interesting. We had some original bills from the Education Committee, but then if folks had, I'm sorry about the dogs. Jack, can you please let him out? Sorry about that. They if we had more than one bill, then we had a new chair of the education committee. It was Chairman Ellington, and he really tried to do things in a nonpartisan fashion, which was nice. And he tried to get, if he thought a bill was controversial, he would work with the parties together who might have been interested in working on. I'll give you an example. CTE, the community and technical education piece, we pushed from our side for several years to add middle schools to the CTE program. And there were some Republicans also interested in that. And he did an originating bill out of the committee and then asked folks to sign on. So that was really different. We hadn't done that the year before. And of course, I've only been in the legislature for 2 years. But we pushed for that. We had a teaching the Bible in school as a piece of literature was interesting. We also had one of my main passions is trauma-informed education, having to deal with the ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. I don't know if are you all aware of what ACEs is about?
I think we all are, but for our viewers, so we're on Facebook and
viewers?
YouTube.
Okay.
For our viewers, maybe we
Okay.
can expand on that.
Well, it's really been determined over the last 20 years that people that have adverse childhood experiences have lifelong ramifications from those adverse experiences. And if they don't learn some coping skills and learn how to deal with those, they have lifelong issues with that, health issues that can follow them forever. They have higher rates of obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes. It's a proven, it's a scientific fact. So we did get a bill passed through
Delegate Zukoff, we lost you. All right, internet in West Virginia, folks. Just don't you love it? Well, we'll wait for Delegate Zukoff to get back on here and continue.
I don't know what happened. You just saw we're spinning, so my apologies.
That's okay. So a bill last session?
Yeah, we had a bill last session that actually is a working group that is headed by the Public Health Department, Kathy Schlemp, which you've learned a lot about through the COVID-19 working group. And they are going to be developing a screening protocols to address adverse childhood experiences. We had a bill in the Education Committee that we couldn't get through the Finance Committee that would there's several programs, but was a bill, trauma-informed schools, so that counselors that are within the school system, social workers that are within the school system, counselors that might come from, be hired outside to come in and help. And it's really a holistic approach to help children that have adverse childhood experiences. There are several really successful programs around the state. We have one I'm from Marshall County in the Northern Panhandle. Part of my district includes Ohio County. And in Ohio County, we have a very successful trauma-informed elementary schools program. We had them come in and speak to the Education Committee. This program has actually been published. They have statistics. It's been proven very effective. We were trying to get that through the system, and we did not last year. So this kind of feeds along with a holistic approach to deal with the ACEs problem in West Virginia. Poverty is a big indicator of ACEs, and so that was one of our, at least from my perspective, that was my bill and something that we really tried to get passed through. But from the Education Committee, last year was pretty uneventful, given that the year before we had the school reform from the House with charter schools and things like that. So it was pretty relatively calm year from the education perspective. But we did get CTE for middle school started. That was approved by the House and the Senate. There will be some money to start a demonstration program. We already have a CTE program in Marshall County. It's been around for years, and it's very popular. We have the kids that start out in CTE in middle school, and we have it at each of our 3 middle schools in our county. 85% of them go on to CTE programs of some sort in high school. So we find that our kids that come out of the CTE program, specifically in some programs like welding, we have a nursing program. They start their CNAs by the time they get out of high school, so they can go directly into some of the nursing programs. And we have horticulture. We have a really strong FFA program here. So our kids are very, they get exposed very early to multiple opportunities in technical education that they can then go on to have fulfilling, rewarding careers, and with apprenticeships and labor unions and things like that. So we were able to get that passed, and that again was an originating bill. So that's pretty much the last session, I believe. We had it was a pretty uneventful year, but we still think we have a lot to do. We did try to pass some things like increasing the number of nurses in the school system, social workers in the school system. So there were some things that were passed that we tried to get passed, but funding is always an issue, always. And so those are some of the hindrances that we have. But I will say that it really was the will of the legislature to start to look at children's issues. I would actually call last year's legislative session the year of the child, if you will, because we were successful in getting so many bills that had to deal with children, from the foster care system to ACEs, to CTE, and a lot of other programs and funding for children. So I think that it's proven that it's important.
Well, and I want to go back, if I can, with you, Delegate, because with ACEs, there are basically 10 questions. If you take an ACEs questionnaire, there are 10 questions. And poverty obviously is one of them. Abuse, and that can be sexual abuse, that could be physical, verbal abuse. And so there are those 10 questions. And the higher the number of questions you answer in the positive, the higher risks you have to drug use, to health problems, as you indicated before. And so the need to get social workers and folks in there to provide that trauma-informed care obviously is really important. Add to the fact that I believe West Virginia still has the highest foster care number of kids in foster care, and
Per capita in the country.
Per capita, correct. And as well as grandparents raising grandchildren in the state.
That's correct.
And so you add all of these different elements together, and it is good that they are focusing on that, because our children have a lot of things to be dealing with. And then, you throw in the COVID-19
Exactly.
in there. And so let's hope that it's nice to hear that they were that there was some bipartisanship going on. That's always a great thing, and especially with our kids. And we're going to do an update with Delegate Fleischhauer later in the program, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. Ariana, let's pivot to you, if we could, and let's talk about your perspective from on education, if we could.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, I graduated from high school, so I have a relatively recent view about the education system. And I was going to look at things from like a student's perspective. So as I was listing things that I thought that kids saw was wrong in the education system, the first thing that came to mind was like kids can see a lack of funding, and that translates to like the schools or the government seem like they don't care about students. So that kind of that makes students feel not valued, and they don't want to be there at school. And I know I went to East Fairmont High School, and it's a relatively nice building, a new building, but some of the parts of the school were, I guess, not so nice, and it just made kids have such a bad attitude about like school in general. So I think even something as little as just like making the schools a little bit nicer will definitely help with the situation. I think it'll get kids more motivated. Second was just a lack of class options. So a lot of people want to see like more real world classes like home ec or things about taxes taught in schools. But also another thing I noticed was just that across the state, there's a disparity in what classes are available in different schools. So I know we were jealous because we had a few AP classes, but other schools had way more. And if you look out of state, even a lot of schools have way more AP classes and more opportunities, and that really translates to, I guess, a disadvantage for us because I know, like, applying to colleges and things, AP classes can matter, and if we don't have the opportunity to take them, it really hurts us in the end. But I know that's a big problem with also getting teachers, because you have to have teachers to teach the classes, and you want to keep classes relatively small. So I understand that's kind of more of a holistic issue. But kids would like to see more class options available. I think that's one of the also the biggest issues. And then along with that is just standardized testing. So of course we all know that standardized testing is just like it beats kids down, because that seems like all kids have to focus on now. And I remember we had like the West test, and then we changed all these different tests. I think now they have to take like the SAT or something, but we just focus too much on it, and kids, they don't want to do that. They would like to learn things instead of learning how to take a test. And I think the last thing is health professionals in schools. So obviously we have a very trauma affected populace now, and in schools, the number one issue is having people to take care of those issues, because I remember our counselors, they were just bogged down with administrative work. I mean, they would like schedule us for classes and everything. It seemed like what helped console kids. And I think kids really need that, and they don't really have anybody to turn to, it seems like. So a lot of them go to their teachers, and then they get bogged down with students having to go to them because they don't have any mental health professionals in schools. And that hurts them, because then they have to focus on helping kids with their trauma instead of teaching the material they need to teach. Yeah, I think that's about it for now.
Well, and I want to go to a comment that Lisa Spears has made, that courses offered are dependent upon certifications and licensure within the building. And that goes to the problem that we're facing in West Virginia, which is a shortage of teachers, correct? Who would like to take that on among the group? Brittany, you want to go? I saw you go first. All right, we'll let you go first.
Yeah. Yeah, so Delegate Zukov talked a lot about wanting to get trauma-informed schools and we call it wraparound services, basically anything that's going to help with mental health services throughout the school. So one of the advantages of the omnibus bill that they ended up passing is that they do require school systems to have some sort of trauma-informed training. Now that's, again, an unfunded mandate, so that's something we're required to figure out on our own. But it also offered funding, increased funding by county for those wraparound services. So that could be a counselor or a therapist or a psychologist or something like that, a nurse even, to help these students. But the problem is, even with those services, we don't have people to fill those positions. So they can be posted for a really long time, and we just don't have people to fill it because we don't have salaries that are competitive with other states. The draw, which was good benefits, we know with PEIA is not something we're actually getting, quality benefits, and so not just teachers having a shortage, but anything related to education. It's really hard to persuade someone who is a licensed psychologist to take a job in a school system when they're paid on the same pay scale as a teacher, but yet they're licensed as a psychologist and they could have their own practice and make twice as much money, as a private psychologist as they would in a public school system. And their caseloads are super bogged down. So with teachers, we have increased class sizes, we have open positions, we have long-term subs across the hall from us a whole year because there's just no one to fill that position. Something about me, I'm actually not a teacher that holds a master's degree. So I didn't go to school for education. I have an English degree, but because there is such a significant teacher shortage in the state, they hired me as a teacher, and I just had to take some tests and a couple online classes, and now I'm a certified teacher. I'm not paid the same as much as other teachers, but you know, we have people who aren't licensed as educators, who haven't gone to school for education, who are instructing our students. And we want to make sure that we have, you know, high quality teachers that are highly certified in their area. And that's just something we don't have right now because competitive salary is just not there and benefits just aren't there.
Well, it's and I'm just from a layman's perspective. I came back to West Virginia in 2007, and my background helps with this a little bit. But what I don't understand is if we don't invest now, we end up paying more later. And so I'm still struggling with why we're not providing. And obviously we have a lot of challenges in West Virginia, but we can look at the past 25 years and see what the cost has been when it relates to lack of teachers, lack of education, opportunities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully those will be issues that we can continue to talk about in the legislature.
I'm pretty sure, and Robin might know too exactly what years this was, but I remember when we started the strike, the first strike, I remember reading that they had actually passed legislation that said that they would have our pay, you know, at a competitive rate by now. And even with the raises, the raises we got in the last two strikes, we are still not reaching that competitive pay that they promised us several years ago, that as of last year we should have reached. So, you know, they can legislate a raise for us, but they're not actually giving it to us. And obviously us and our students are the ones who are suffering for that.
Yeah. Stephanie, would you like to step in and chit chat here on this issue?
Oh, yes. No. I think part of it comes back to that funding is based on enrollment. In the last 8 years, we've lost over 20,000 West Virginia students. So as long as our population continues to decline, you know, funding is going to be less and less each year, and that's going to overflow into what's available for our students and for our teachers. And another big thing is really to change the mindset. We don't really have a mindset across the board as a value for education. And I know that sounds maybe callous, but you know, we have to strong arm kids to come to school. We have to strong arm kids to participate. You know, sadly, we've exhausted so many of our resources trying to locate kids since we dismissed March the 13th, whose parents haven't phoned or they haven't phoned. I mean, we have a lot of problems, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly which one's our biggest problem to attack first. I mean, funding for sure would be really important. And I wanted to roll back to that foster care number. As a foster parent, my husband and I were required to take PRIDE training, which is informative for foster parents. And we were astounded by the number because we keep hearing 7,000, 7,000, 7,000 foster care. West Virginia has increased 67%, where the rest of the country has seen an increase of 11% in the last 6 years in foster care. But the number that we're not hearing enough is the 35,000 kids that are in kinship, relative, or grand family placement. And they made no secret about it that, you know, 85% of those kids are there because of the drug epidemic and the abuse epidemic. And that comes back to your ACEs too. We're simply I think, overwhelmed in education. I don't know about you ladies, but sometimes I feel like I haven't got to teach the curriculum today because I've spent my time addressing the behaviors that come from trauma and just trying to build a rapport. But I don't know. We definitely need some education reform too that brings teachers to the table and students to the table and parents and administrator, everybody that's in the trenches. And I don't feel like we get enough respect as professionals that they ever kind of ask us what we think.
Robin, do you want to hop in here and then we'll go to Nikki?
Oh, yes. I definitely do not think that we are respected when it comes to our local and state officials. That is definitely why I am running. I'm pretty sure it's why Brittany is running also. The teacher strike lit that fire inside of us because we know that our students are not getting what they need. We know that teachers are not getting paid what they should be getting paid. And it's not just teachers, it's our paraprofessionals, it's our custodians, it's our secretaries. I mean, what man can afford to be a custodian when he could go and work for the pipeline and make 5 times as much money? What nursing teacher can we get to come to our school and teach our students how to become nurses when she or he can be a nurse and make twice as much money? So definitely, I mean, I went to school to be a teacher. That's what I always wanted to do. So I knew what the pay was, but the lack of respect from our officials is what bothers me more than anything. The pay definitely is an issue because we cannot get and recruit new teachers. No one is going to college anymore to become a teacher. This past year, I started teaching the CTE program, Careers in Education. It is an amazing program. After 12 years of being a special ed teacher, I started teaching this program, and I absolutely love it. I am getting to teach high school students who have an interest in teaching. Some of them want to go into psychology, social work, you name it, but anybody can come to the program and take advantage of it. Hopefully, different CTE programs like that will encourage more of our students to go into the education. And I'm hoping that once teachers get elected to these positions, that our voices will be heard and education will be a priority. Because I'm sorry, until we put our students first, our state is going to continue to lose population. No one wants to move here with young children when we're ranked last in everything. Young children, young parents who have young children have to move away to find work. So until we start focusing on our students first and foremost, we're going to continue to lose population. We're going to continue to lose our young adults to the drug epidemic. So it is just a continual spiral that until we reach in and make these kids #1 priority in the state of West Virginia, we are going to continue to suffer. Foster care, yes, they touched on it a smidge, but they did not do anything the way they should with foster care. We have 10,000 kids in the foster care system. We have 7,000 kids homeless. Once students reach the age of 18, they age out. So if anyone watching can tell me, if you're 18 out there, or if you have teenagers, if you can tell me that when you're 18, you know everything and you're ready to go work the very next day and provide for yourself, to be able to pay rent, to be able to buy groceries, to be able to get a vehicle, to be able to pay insurance. If you're able to do all of those things at 18, then we do not need to fix this. But I don't think that anybody can. So at the age of 18, we have students aging out of the system. That is something that our state needs to do away with. If you are 18 years old and you are your first month of a high school student, you should still be able to stay in the foster care system no matter what until you graduate. Upon graduating, you should be off into another area of care. There is no 18-year-old that's ready to go buy a home or rent a home the day they turn 18. I see so many kids come to my classroom when they're 18. Sometimes they show up with a black trash bag full of their clothes because they don't know where they're going to go the next day. And usually it's a friend's house. So that 10,000 in the foster care system, now that child's going to start being a number in the homeless number. We have students that drop out when they turn 18 because they have nowhere to go. So it's a spiraling effect. Until we put kids as #1, then it's not going to happen. The ACE program is wonderful, but it's not reaching our high school students. All of these awesome trauma-informed programs are aimed at grade schools. There are some out there that reach the high school students, but not very many. And part of my biggest plan when I become a delegate is to make sure that every single teacher, every single paraprofessional, and every single custodian, and every single bus driver, and every single secretary are all trained in an intensive trauma-informed training right before school starts. This should not be something that's an hour long. It should be 3 to 4 days, a week if we can afford it. But we have to start focusing on these kids. We need a trauma-informed counselor in every single school. As Ariana said, that most of our social workers or most of our guidance counselors are registering kids for classes, are dealing with college work, you name it. They're busy doing the paperwork, getting prepared for the SAT testing. That's what they end up being used for. We need counselors, guidance counselors, social workers who are trained in trauma training. Our teachers need to be trained in it. We need to make sure that programs like ACE and Handle with Care are used throughout the state. Handle with Care, we use it here in Webster County, and it's good, but it could be better. So lots of things that I want to work on in the education system. I am a teacher, and that's my strongest point, but I have grandchildren who I want to see be able to live here and be able to have their families here. And I know that once they start grade school, that they're just going to become a number until we fix what's wrong with our state. And that is our education system. Sorry.
No, I have a question. I'm going to let Nikki jump in here real quick. And then I have a question. I want to circle back, and then we're going to get Delegate Fleischhauer. In fact, we may bring her on first, and then I'll come back to that question. So Nikki, you've got a few minutes, and then we'll turn it over to Delegate Fleischhauer.
Okay, I've been teaching for 25 years, and I teach science. When I took those science courses, I had to take them along with pre-med, pre-engineering students, and they're very rigorous courses. It's challenging to take those courses. So instead of going into med school or to become a pharmacist, I became a teacher. I've always been a teacher, always will be. It's just, it's who I am. It's more than what I do. It's who I am. I teach high school sciences. I've taught AP courses, chemistry, biology, you name it. But I've noticed that a lot of my high school students, once they get to a certain height, they're treated as though they're not kids anymore. Like they can handle anything that's thrown at them, and they do go through quite a bit. There are a lot of kids in Kanawha County who are in the foster care system, and I see their struggles. And some of them, I don't see their struggles. And I think that we need to open up communication amongst the entities, law enforcement, health department, CPS, and of course, our public schools. And in order to surround these kids with caring adults that will help bring them up, because they're supposed to, in the system, that means that the system is the parent now. It's our responsibility to take care of these kids, to bring them up, to give them that support in a firm foundation from which they can spring and go anywhere in life. But it's up to us to build that foundation for them, just like any good parents would do. And I think that would probably influence them to stay here and continue their lives here. I don't know where we're going to get the revenue for all of these programs. I just know that they're needed. I'm not a budget person, and that's why I'm okay with talking to people who are good with money and with coming up with budgets. And then I'm sure that if we put our heads together, and if we do it in a nonpartisan way, and there's not a lot of backbiting going on, I think that we can come up with a good plan. Republicans, Democrats alike, just coming together for the state of West Virginia. These are our kids. That's the future, and that's what we should be investing in.
Well said, all of you. Well said. I'm bringing in Delegate Fleischhauer now. She is on a tight schedule, so I'm sorry it took us a little bit longer than we expected to bring you in. But I know, Delegate, you want to talk about COVID-19 as it relates to everything that's happening with education and our kids and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to just let you take right over.
Okay. Sarah, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm fine coming in right now. Is there a way we can put something up on screen?
Yeah.
Do we have to, do you want to take me off and put the screen on?
If you can send me whatever you have.
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay.
And it's something that I was hoping we might navigate through.
Okay.
So do you want me to send it again?
No,
I'll
no,
put
no.
It's
You're
I'm not
talking
sure.
about the DHHR link?
Yes.
Okay, I will be happy to share that. Let me pull it up here real quick and you can kind of get us on the introduction
Okay.
of what we're going to be looking at.
All right. The reason I thought this might be interesting to talk about is that this DHHR site, which you can access from the DHHR homepage, from the governor's main homepage, it has a lot of interesting statistics, maybe for your county. So if you can scroll down, Sarah, from there and keep going just a little bit farther. Okay, stop right there. So this is the home page, and that is updated 2 times a day. So you can see that we've got 50 deaths. That's going up by 8, 10 every week. We have the number of positive cases that's been going up by like a couple of hundred every week. But what's kind of fascinating, I think, is to go into the different tabs up here at the top. Like, can you click on the resident positive cases, Sarah? Okay, this has a bunch of interesting things on it. One, for a long time, it didn't have the race, and that's in that bottom pie chart, and that's double. We only have 3% African Americans in our state. I'm not sure what other is, but that's double the rate. And we know that Ariana, we know that it's in Marion County, there are 2 deaths and they were both African Americans. So it was 100% of the race. And then if you look at the far right pie chart, you'll see that women are disproportionately a part of this population. Like, we're something like 51, 52%, and it's up at 58%. And the graph, I don't know what this is called in the middle, but you can see that a chunk are over 70. Is that, I can hardly read it, it's so little, 22%. But what surprised me was how many are, if you add the 50 to 70, that's also, we don't really think about those age groups being the biggest, but that's, 29%, 30% practically are over 50, but haven't reached 70. And it's really clear that children are not very common, which is really good. But, it's not as low in the lower age groups as you would think. And and this slide on the top shows that we are really bumping up our testing, which is really, really good. And the bottom shows kind of how, we are going up and down with the number of cases that are for each day and so on. Can you go to the county level information? And this is probably since everybody cares about their county, this is probably a place where you may want to look every once in a while. I think it's Jackson County that has the awful numbers because of their nursing home deaths. I mean, 15 deaths there. It's just horrible. It really got out of control. But Mon County, we are still on the hotspot list. I think from what I understand is the main, and if you hover over the county, Sarah, it gives you the number of cases and the fatality rate. I guess that means 4.57% of 107. 107 is 2 more than it was this morning. One of the reasons I've been told we are still considered a hot spot is because they're concerned that the next 2 weeks are move in, move out day. And we could have, 10,000 kids coming in from New Jersey and New York and other Delaware and Pennsylvania who might have been in a place where there was a lot more infection rates. And also they think they're immortal. Let's go to the next one, the lab, Kate, the next tab. And you can see, this shows you a little bit, the cumulative numbers are not as interesting as you would think, because it's good that we've gotten these increased testing. What's more important is the bottom line, which shows like on a certain day, you know, that we had the positives. Let's go to the long-term care facilities. This tab was just added. And so you can look, and the good thing is, after the horrible things happened in Jackson County, they tested everybody, and look at all those zeros. That is really good over, well, no, especially in the number of positive results. That's the part I think that's really good, is there were very few counties where they had very many positive results on the number on the far left. But it's great that it took the Jackson County thing to make them realize they needed to test everybody, but that's expensive. And that was one of and this is interesting. Most of us don't really know the census of the nursing homes in our counties. Okay, let's go back up, Sarah, and look at these last two, because we're running out of time a little bit. The health status. This is interesting too. It shows you where the hot spots are. They are Kanawha, Berkeley. Boy, is that hard for me to read on my little Jackson, Monongalia, and Wayne. Marion used to be up there, Ariana, and it's been taken off, which I guess is a good thing. And it would be helpful if we knew where these hospital cases were. And there may be a way that you can dig down deeper. And they just added this long-term care facility information, which is good, because, you know, that's kind of mysterious. They've really beefed this up. But you can see, for example, in Monongalia County, the blacks are the fatalities, and the greens are what does green say? Can you read that, Sarah? Because boy.
Yeah, that's home isolation.
Yeah. And that was the big problem. I don't know. There was a big article in the Gazette, 2 articles in the Gazette this weekend. I think there were a lot of African Americans who were told, you can't get tested. You should just go home, and, you know, and there's no cure. And I think we're going to have people who are dying at home. That's going to happen less now that we have the more availability to look at tests. What's the last tab, Sarah? The state comparison?
Yes.
Can you click on that too? So mostly we're doing pretty well here. If you look at the case fatality, looks like Virginia is doing better. That was not true before. We were the best on the fatality, but Virginia is doing better. I guess this is a baby horse race. And then we are doing much better when it comes to beefing up our testing. We're doing real well, very, very well, when it's percent of tests that are positive. I mean, we're doing great there. And we're doing pretty well when the percent of the population positive too. So this changes on a daily basis. They update it twice a week or twice a day. And it's something you can see. I mean, it would be helpful probably if they had more data by county, but because the numbers are small, they may not mean that much by county. But I think if we're going to get out of this, we're going to have to keep, we're going to have to work on all these areas and make sure that we don't have more fatalities, and that, that we are making sure that people are getting tested, and that it doesn't say anything on here about how many people are wearing the masks. I wish there was a way to do that, to know how many in Kroger's have their masks on. But if you haven't looked at this, it can help you understand a little bit why we're doing what we're doing, and why others, and actually why we're doing better than other states.
This is incredibly informative, and they have added a lot of information. I will tell you, I did have to step out to Walmart today, and it was about a 50-50 mix, I would say, just off the top of my head. You know, I had a mask on, and I would say about 50% of the folks in there had masks on, and 50% didn't. So
Yeah, that's scary, isn't it?
for me, it is. I mean, I just think it's better to be safe than sorry, but
I have
Well,
to say, oh, go ahead.
You're protecting other people, Sarah.
right,
I mean, that's what that means.
right. I mean, I haven't seen my mother in 6-7 weeks
Right. And
because
you're
I don't want to expose her.
exactly.
Yeah. So that was incredibly informative. I encourage and we all encourage you to continue looking at the, we will put the website in the comment section of the live streams so that people can take a look at it at their convenience and peruse the information at will. And then I'm sure any of the candidates, incumbents, in any of them in any county would be happy to answer your questions. If you want to reach out to them, reach out to us and we'll put you in contact with them directly. So thank you so much, Delegate Fleshauer. That was incredibly informative.
Good. I think it was sort of informative, but I'm glad. I think it's interesting, but I interrupted somebody. Who was that? Somebody was going to say, was that you, Stephanie?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I went with my husband yesterday to Sam's Club here in one of the northern counties, and there were 3 people wearing the masks, 2 of which were my husband and I.
Oh my goodness, that's it?
I was very, I cannot really articulate how I felt that the number of people that were there and the number that were not socially distancing, and how it just kind of felt like nothing happened. It really, saddens me because there has been a great loss of life.
Yeah.
And I just think out of some level of, I don't know, awareness and humility toward that loss of life, that we should all still practice social distancing and follow the recommended guidelines. But I was really disheartened. Like it kind of shook me a little bit.
Those are that's a terrible percentage. I mean, it just means that there's going to be more loss of life. It's disrespectful to the people that have died, but it means there's going to be more. I was talking to our health director today, and a lot of people are upset that we're still considered a hot spot, so we cannot have an opening up like other counties. And that's in large part because of that big influx of students that they anticipate on moving day. And if that's happening everywhere else, that people aren't taking this seriously, we'll have a surge. We'll have a spike.
My daughters are teenagers, and we're constantly talking about our rights and privileges as American citizens, but we had to have a big talk about responsibilities. Even my 13-year-old said, "Mom, I know everybody wants their rights, but don't they know that with your rights come responsibilities?" I said, I think sometimes we tend to forget that as a whole, and it's something that we need to keep reiterating. It's really quite sad.
Yeah.
Well, it's again, that information is incredibly helpful. I found it to be myself. I appreciate that. And again, any of you that are watching the replay or watching live, if you have questions beyond this conversation, feel free to reach out to us, the individual candidates, and they will be happy to get back with you. I want to circle back, if we could, to education, because I'm going to ask a question. This is me asking a question. I know that our numbers have declined. The number of people in our state has declined. The number of students that in our state has declined. In terms of our Department of Education, are the numbers still the same, or are those growing? Like, do we have more administrators than we need, or what?
Yes.
Yes.
Who wants to take that question on? Throwing it out there.
Well, I can only reiterate what we hear, and we're constantly hearing that while our number of students has decreased and our number of teachers have decreased, are a number of administrators, and I don't mean building level administrators like central office, and actually our state board of education administrators has continued to increase. And that's not really a relationship that we can validate when, when we're all struggling on the county level. Our administrators here are doing the best that they can, our teachers and our staff, that we're going to keep adding them at the state level. It's just really not a very, direct proportional relationship. Would you agree with that, girls?
Oh, I definitely agree with that.
I agree.
As Lisa said, we are definitely top heavy, and who flows downstream? I'm sorry, we get all of the, teachers aren't doing a good enough job, but yet we do not have enough teachers. We do not have enough people in our building to be able to perform everything that they think that we should be performing. And our state level employees continue to make, some of them 3 to 4 times as much money as what we do. So yes, we are definitely top heavy. And if they're going to continue to cut our counties and our county boards, then the state board needs to start getting those cuts, but way before our local boards do. We've already lost our RESAs in my area. It's just getting worse and worse. And the state continues to have openings every year.
Isn't that strange?
Can I say something, Sarah?
Fine, I think. Okay, so I work in a high school, and the people that I work with and the people that I've met throughout the entire state during different meetings that we've had and trainings that we had, they're competent people. They're compassionate people. They want to do what's best for their students. They come up with the best ideas. I've learned so much from my fellow teachers throughout the years. And like I said, that's 25 years, but I have so much more experience than just myself. I have these other teachers that I've drawn from over the years. And what the state is actually doing is making our job in the classroom that much more difficult. When we have behavior problems in the classroom and we have, say, a parent that is also upset that we've written up a kid for having this behavior problem, and then we have an administrator coming breathing down our necks about that, we have all of this criticism coming from every direction, and teaching is that much harder because of it. The morale is really low here. That's how it is in West Virginia. That's how it is in the county I've been teaching.
I want to circle back to where you mentioned write-ups. That's something, again, we got to have people who are in the trenches giving feedback to this. I'm blessed to work in a school that is very socioeconomically diverse, but the behaviors are profounded. And there's only so many different ways you can write it up. And then they say, the feedback will be, well, you didn't write that up properly. You didn't code that properly. I'm sorry, but there's only so many different ways. And then there comes the question too, at what point do we say, okay, this behavior doesn't belong in a general education classroom? When you're consistently, we have these, so much curriculum you have to get through, but if we're spending 27 minutes out of a 42-minute classroom trying to redirect one behavior, at what point do we say, okay, we need to take back education? And I mean, part of that in the end is going to have to be, again, with that valuing of education that we're just lacking. And I think it trickles down from the top. If if we can trickle out of Charleston that our education system is our biggest priority, then our kids will see that it is our biggest priority. Our parents will see it's our biggest priority. We need to definitely, make sure that, just make sure that they see where our focus is.
I just want to add to that just for a second. I mean, Stephanie, you're right. But we also have to start looking at why are these kids acting out when they are acting out? And until we are officially properly trained in the trauma-informed, and I preach this, it's just insane. But until we're properly trained on how to communicate with these students and how to react to certain situations, the behaviors are going to continue to rise. And it's not the kids' fault. there might be a handful of turds that come into your classroom that just come in that day wanting to cause chaos. But the majority of them that are causing the chaos are not doing it because they want to. Something happened to them the night before. Something happened to them that morning. They saw their mom get beat up on their way to school. They didn't have any electricity because mom and dad didn't pay the power bill. The cops were there because it was another drug bust. They haven't had food all weekend long. We have to be able to figure out what is going on inside these kids' heads instead of writing them up because they didn't come to school with a pencil or because they're trying to sleep in class. So it's so much more than just our behavior system. We have to be trained in behavior before we can expect their behavior to change.
It sounds like to me that we're really focused on punitive versus determining issues. And the greatest return on investment, it's shown, is investing in youth, investing in children. So I saw a question earlier, or a comment earlier about, the education, the economic development portion, and how do we change that? And truly, if we want to change the economy in the state of West Virginia, and it will take time, one of the major issues is youth and education. So
I'd like to butt in here, Sarah.
Go right ahead.
I just want to say how exciting it is to be on with these four women and the other one. These four women who are all teachers. And I think you don't even realize what power you have. I got to tell you, it was so cool during both strikes, looking up at the gallery, and there were all these women. I mean, most teachers are women, and it was so loud. 15,000 people in Marble can really make noise. And I would, don't forget, you won, we won, West Virginia won, and you have power. Even though it feels really frustrating that we have these problems, what a difference it could make if the four of you were in office, where you could explain what it's like to be a teacher and how 2% increase of our counselors and the people that are assisting class is not enough. It is not enough to make a difference. So I can't tell you how encouraging it is for me to see all of you guys here, and how my fingers are crossed that you're going to make it over this primary hump, and then that you're going to win in November, because you could really make a difference. You could really make you could make a positive change. And it just would be so nice to have more women in the room. So thank you. It was I thought it was very fascinating to hear what all of you had to say, the examples you gave. And I think it's so neat that you all decided, if somebody else isn't doing this, I am stepping up and I'm going to do it.
Well, and I wonder how many administrators need to go back to the classroom. I'm just throwing that out there. Just something to consider. But you know me, I'm not one to hold back. But no, I agree with you. And running for office is not easy. And running for office during a pandemic is definitely not easy. So, kudos to everyone who is running. And I'm not sure what the demographics are for the state are anymore for women versus men. But, women we need more representation in the state house. So as you're looking at these candidates, reach out to them, contact them with any questions. The folks, all the candidates will be looking at the comments here and responding accordingly. Kathy Ferguson says, I applaud you ladies. Future legislators, what type of education reform would each of you in advance, if you could, as an educator on a delegate, reform would each of you advance if you could as educator on a delegate? So that's definitely something that you can answer in the comments, or take to a live stream yourselves. let's see. I'm just going to throw a few more comments up here, and then we're going to bring DL back in here. Mason's smart. Mason gets it. Mason's gets
He
it.
was a former student of mine, so you're welcome.
Taught him well. All right. Well, I'm going to bring DL back in, and let's see. We're going to wrap things up. DL is back, a little pixelated, but she's coming into focus. And you've got your t-shirt on. People have got their t-shirts on. I can't find mine, so I will. I hope to find my t-shirt soon. There we go. And it is Teachers Week, correct?
Oh.
So bravo. Let's just give a round of applause to all of our teachers. Thank you. You do probably the hardest job. So, well, DL, we could sit and talk about this issue all night long, but let's talk about the website, the t-shirts, and where people can go to get them, and take it from there.
I will put a page, but we'll try to get a screen share up there next time.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
I think will be for the 8, and there's only going to be 7 Mountain Mamas in the next legislature because one of the delegates has chosen to run for county commission. So while we say 8 is not enough, we're going to be down to 7. So we're really looking forward to a new influx of more Mountain Mamas in the legislature. And I'm looking forward, after the primary, of making that map of West Virginia and putting the faces of all the Mountain Mamas around there, because I was noticing as I'm watching this group that this is mostly the central northern West Virginia group. We've got 3 in the Eastern Panhandle, over in Cabell County, several down in the 3rd Congressional District that are running. So we want to get that map up. And for that, we need donations. So I'm again putting a plug in. Oh, very good. There's our t-shirts. We're again wanting donations. And we want a Mountain Mama running in every district if we can in 2022. I also appreciated, I hear that Stephanie's sister Lisa is a big fan of Mountain Mamas. I hope your t-shirt gets to you pretty soon, Lisa. But she had Stephanie's logo as her profile pic, which shows up great on the screen. So the rest of the mamas need to get their fans using their logo as their profile pic and commenting on this, because I really appreciated a lot of Lisa's comments. She's obviously very engaged in the education system, and clearly you all are good medicine for what ails West Virginia. And I just am going to reach out to try to get more people knowing about the wealth of expertise that we have running as Mountain Mamas in the West Virginia legislature. So let's go to, I first have a joke, because I'd forgotten this transcribes as you go along. And when I was introducing Amanda E. Step Burton last time, it came up on the transcription as Man Step Burton. So this time, but no, she has a very womanly step. So we're going to have Barbara back with some more stats on COVID, hopefully every Monday that she can join us, and Patty back with her statistics about the absentee ballot requests and returns, because we're hoping that we have a record-breaking voter turnout this year because of the opportunity to vote absentee. Next week, 5/11, we have Sammy Brown back as our incumbent to discuss systems. And those systems include infrastructure, things like roads and broadband, but also the prison system. I mean, we've all seen what's going on in Gilmer County. We hope we don't have a sad update about that. We're going to talk about the justice system, a topic of special interest to Delegate Brown. And Maybe also talking about the system of pipelines going through the state, because I've been really worried with all this rain about those of you who are on the paths of the Atlantic Coast or Mountain Valley Pipeline, because I've been hearing about some slips and some things where families have even had to evacuate because of the threat of a mudslide. So as you know, West Virginia's got some infrastructure problems. Oh, and I forgot roads, country roads. Everybody needs to talk about the ideas for improving that in West Virginia. So we'll have Kathy Ferguson with us, Selena Vickers, probably some others. So have a great week and see you next Monday with Mountain Mamas.
All right. Thank you, teachers. Thank you, teachers. See you
Thanks,
next week.
everybody. Thank you, Sarah.
Very welcome.
DL.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sarah and DL.
Thank you.
Yes,
Great job, everybody.
sure.